In a small, forgotten village surrounded by endless fields of dust and silence, lived a young woman named Amara. She had no fortune, no family name, no inheritance, only her hands, her faith, and a will to survive. Her father had been a farmer who died when the rain stopped coming. Her mother followed soon after, taken by fever. At 14, Amara became both child and adult. She woke before dawn to fetch water, worked in neighbors' farms, and washed clothes in the river to earn a few coins. Life was cruel, but Amara, she never complained. She always found a reason to smile. She loved to sit by the village well and watch the birds fly toward the horizon. One day, she whispered to herself, "I'll go beyond those skies. I'll find a life where my name means something." That day came unexpectedly. One afternoon, a shiny black car rolled into the dusty village. It belonged to Madame Kemi, a wealthy businesswoman from the city. She was looking for a young, strong girl to work in her mansion as a maid. The villagers murmured. They said city life was dangerous, that maids were treated like slaves. But Amara stepped forward. "I will go," she said with quiet courage. "Maybe this is the beginning of my story." Her journey to the city felt like a dream and a nightmare combined. She sat in the back seat, staring out at roads that stretched endlessly. She had never seen so many lights, so many tall buildings scraping the sky. When the car stopped before Madame Kemi's mansion, Amara froze. The gates were taller than any house she had ever seen. Inside, marble floors reflected the chandeliers above. Everything gleamed. Everything smelled of wealth. "You'll wake at 4 a.m., Madame Kemi instructed sternly. "You'll clean, cook, and stay out of sight when guests come. And you must never speak unless spoken to. Understand?" "Yes, Ma," Amara replied. From that moment, her life became a cycle of sweat and silence. She scrubbed floors until her fingers cracked. She washed dishes until her reflection blurred in the soap water. At night, she slept on a mat beside the kitchen. Her only companion, a dim lantern that flickered when the wind sighed through the window. She missed her village, the sound of birds, the smell of rain, but she kept her heart steady. "Work hard," she told herself. "One day things will change." Days turned into months. The other servants pitied her. Some mocked her village accent. Others warned her not to cross Madame Kemi. But Amara stayed humble. When scolded, she bowed. When blamed wrongly, she stayed silent. Her only weapon was patience. Then one night, the unexpected happened. Madame Kemi's youngest son, Tunde, fell terribly ill. He burned with fever so fierce that doctors came and went, shaking their heads. The mansion filled with fear and whispers. Madame Kemi's pride melted into panic. Amara, who often played peekaboo with Tunde when no one watched, couldn't bear to see him suffer. She begged Madame Kemi, "Please, Ma, let me stay with him." "I know some herbs my mother used desperate," Madame Kemi agreed. For 3 nights, Amara stayed awake beside the boy's bed. She bathed his head with water, whispered prayers, and told him stories from her village. Tales of rivers that healed and stars that listened. On the 4th night, Tunde opened his eyes weakly and smiled. His fever broke. When the doctor returned, he called it a miracle. Madame Kemi looked at Amara differently after that. She didn't say thank you, but for the first time, her voice softened. "You did well," she murmured. Amara only smiled. "Glory be to God, Ma." But peace in that house was fragile. One morning, while cleaning the guest room, Amara found an envelope full of money under the bed. She didn't think twice. She took it straight to Madame Kemi's office. Hours later, the guest, a government official, accused her of stealing it. Madame Kemi's eyes turned cold again. "You?" she thundered. "After all I've done?" Amara fell to her knees. "I didn't take it, Ma. I found it and brought it to you myself." But her words meant nothing. The police arrived. They cuffed her wrists and dragged her away. The servants whispered behind closed doors. In the police cell that night, Amara sat on the cold floor, trembling. Her faith wavered. For the first time, she questioned heaven. "Why me?" she whispered. "Haven't I suffered enough?" Morning came like a cruel joke, sunlight slicing through the iron bars. Then the door opened. Madame Kemi rushed in, eyes swollen from tears. "Amara," she said shakily, "I was wrong." The guest had called. He'd found the money in his briefcase. He had simply misplaced it. Madame Kemi knelt before the young maid. "Forgive me." Amara, even with bruised wrists and tired eyes, smiled faintly. "It's okay, Ma. God will judge, not me." That forgiveness broke the woman's pride completely. She paid Amara's bail, took her home, and from that day onward, everything changed. She gave her a proper room, new clothes, and the chance to go to school in the evenings. "You have a light I almost destroyed," she told her. "Don't let the world dim it." Years passed. Amara studied hard, balancing her duties and her dreams. She learned to read, to write, and to heal. Her heart, though scarred, remained kind. Madame Kemi eventually sponsored her full education. Amara entered nursing school, then medical college. It wasn't easy. City life tested her, but she persevered. Every failure only made her stronger. Soon she graduated with honors, becoming a medical doctor dedicated to serving the poor. She joined a humanitarian group that traveled to war-torn villages, treating the wounded and feeding the forgotten. Newspapers began to write about the humble doctor with the heart of gold. But her biggest test was yet to come. Years later, the city she once served as a maid fell into chaos. Political unrest erupted. Streets burned, hospitals overflowed, people fled. Amid the smoke and confusion, one of the relief teams arrived, and leading them was Dr. Amara. When she stepped out of the rescue van, her heart stopped. There, buried under rubble and fire, was Madame Kemi's mansion. Without hesitation, Amara ran toward the collapsing structure. Her team shouted after her, but she didn't stop. Flames roared, glass shattered, but she kept going. Inside, she found Madame Kemi trapped beneath a fallen beam, her face pale with dust and fear. "Amara!" the woman gasped, hardly believing her eyes. "Yes, Ma," she said, tears mixing with soot. "I'm here." With strength born from love, she lifted the debris and pulled her former mistress to safety. Outside, a crowd had gathered. Cameras clicked. Reporters shouted. They watched as the once poor maid carried the wealthy woman in her arms through fire and smoke. The nation woke up to the story. Headlines screamed, "The suffering maid who became hero in another man's land." Everywhere, people spoke her name with reverence. Young girls in villages whispered her story by candlelight. Mothers told their daughters, "Be like Amara. Work hard. Forgive. Rise." When Madame Kemi recovered, she visited Amara in the hospital. Her voice trembled. "You saved my life. After everything I did to you," Amara smiled softly, "you gave me a chance to learn." "That was enough," Madame Kemi wept. "You were never a servant. You were my greatest teacher." Time moved on, but Amara's legend only grew. She opened clinics for poor families, built schools for orphan girls, and traveled to places where hope was fading. Everywhere she went, she carried the same humility she learned while scrubbing floors. Years later, at an international conference, Amara stood on stage as the world applauded her achievements. She wasn't wearing designer clothes or diamonds, just a simple white gown and a necklace carved from wood, the last thing her mother gave her. As cameras flashed, she looked into the crowd and said, "I was once a maid, but that was never my identity. Pain prepared me. Service shaped me. Forgiveness set me free." The hall erupted in applause. Tears filled the eyes of strangers who'd never met her. That night, alone in her quiet room, she opened the window and gazed at the stars. She whispered, "Mama, Papa, I made it. Your daughter did not fail." The wind brushed her cheeks gently, as if the universe itself was smiling back. And so Amara's story became a legend, a reminder that heroes are not always born in comfort. Some rise from ashes, carrying nothing but kindness. Because sometimes the greatest crown a person can wear is compassion, and the world will forever remember her, not as a maid, but as Amara, the woman who turned suffering into strength and pain into purpose. If this story touched your soul, remember to subscribe, like, and share, because every act of kindness deserves to be told.